Good afternoon. How's your day been? Gooner Fanzine TV is previewing Watford Arsenal Sunday's game at Vicarage Road with a very special guest, Jim Stewart, former editor of mine, someone I've got huge respect for, former mentor as well. He's also editor of the very excellent Football Weekends magazine, as well as being a huge Watford fan. So thanks for your time, Jim. We're around his house, as you can see. He's a massive Watford fan. I shouldn't really be asking you about the league table at the moment, should I? Seeing as Watford are bottom.
Well, yeah, that's very true. It's a bit of a desperate situation at the moment, but yeah, I think we looked after 4 games. We thought we've got West Ham at home, we've got Brighton at home, Newcastle away. This should be 6-7 points out of the first 12. So one isn't exactly the return we after, and of course, being Watford, we didn't just say, well, we'll give it a bit longer. We thought we'll change managers.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've got to ask, well, what do you think about that?
It's a tough one because Gracia was very popular, and I think a lot of people liked him. He's a nice guy. Everyone seems to say he's a nice guy. But there's a few people are saying, well, 4 games into the season, you pulled the trigger again, here goes Watford. The reality was we've been pretty rubbish for about 10 to 15 games. I don't think we've kept a clean sheet for 5 or 6 months. Really, since the FA Cup semi-final, it's been pretty dire. I think I'd have to double check, but I think apart from a win at Huddersfield, it's been loss with the occasional draw. So I think there was a feeling something had to change.
Yeah.
Even if we're not necessarily getting things terribly wrong, we've got a good squad, something wasn't quite right. So in true Watford style, in the first half of the England game we sacked a manager, and in the second half we appointed the new one. So possibly they had something lined up, who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember watching, was it the Newcastle game, Watford Newcastle on Match of the Day, and Will Hughes scored, didn't he? And I know he's been a good signing from Derby.
He has. He's a very good player. We've got an abundance of English talent, which is somewhat hidden beneath the sort of sometimes the narrative that it's a sort of foreign club with foreign players. But you actually look at the team in whole. We've got English players on in every major position. And Hughes is a good one for the future. So I don't think anyone's too worried of feeling, we've got to sign another 6 players.
Yeah.
We could probably do with tightening up the defence, but I think probably 15 teams in the Premier League could say that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, looking at your team, Ben Foster's in goal, isn't he? He's about 36 now, isn't he?
He's getting on, but they get better. That's the good thing about keepers; they get better with age. Yeah. And apart from, I think he only made one massive calamity last season. I think that was against Arsenal. But apart from that, you just feel he's a safe pair of hands, and he's got Gomez as his backup.
Yeah.
So I think most clubs would say that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't think you could fault Foster for too much. He'll make the odd slip, but really I think he's probably in the top 10 keepers in the Premier League, and would probably be in contention for England if he still wanted to play for them.
Yeah, like you say, 36 is still quite a young age for a keeper, isn't it? And he's got a lot of experience. But
he has, and that's the mix you want, really. I think the Pozzo family who own Watford, you start to see over time. We see a very clear pattern. They take on an experienced keeper. So we had Almunia from Arsenal to start off with. He then retired. Then we had Gomez for a couple of years. Then we have Foster. We have proven great goalkeepers who are perhaps, they're looking for their next possible final club. Yeah. And Watford step in and say, "Come here. Yeah. You'll probably get guaranteed first team football." So that seems to work.
Absolutely. In terms of Richarlison, I know he's gone to Everton, and I think Everton beat you 1-0 earlier in the season. I was quite impressed by him when he came up against Arsenal. But you've got is it Bernard who's up there at the moment? He's not a bad little player. But which players in general should Arsenal fans look out for? You obviously touched on a few already.
It'll be interesting to see who plays. Will there be 3 or 4 changes this week? You never know. And obviously Deeney's out. He's always very popular with the Arsenal fans.
Yeah, I was going to come on to choice.
But apart from that, I think if Deulofeu plays and has a great game, he's an awesome player. Yeah. You don't play for Barcelona if you're rubbish.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he scored a wonder goal in the semi-final for us. I think you also look Pereira on his day can be fantastic. And we've got this new player, Ismail Sarr. I think I pronounced that right. Yeah. Who was our club record signing in the summer?
Was he from Rennes then?
He was from Rennes
because he played against Arsenal last year. I just remember
the name. I've yet to see him in the flesh, but everyone I speak to says he's quick.
Yeah.
He's very, very quick.
Yeah.
We splashed out somewhere, I don't know exactly what the final figure was because they keep these a bit secret, but somewhere in the region of 25-30 million.
Okay.
And now he's starting to come into the team. And of course, we do also have Danny Welbeck.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you look at that, level of player, and I think those are the ones you should think, they could do some damage. Yeah.
I mean, talking about, so I covered the game in Rennes last season. I was very impressed with him. I thought he had a really good game first leg. They beat Arsenal 3-1. Obviously, Arsenal beat him 3-0 in the second leg quite easily. But yeah, I think Sarr's going to be a danger man if he plays on Sunday. You're obviously a huge Watford fan. We'll go into nostalgia and past games in a minute. But yeah, you just talked about Danny Welbeck. He was very popular with Arsenal fans before he left at the end of his contract. What's the feeling from Watford's side in terms of landing Welbeck?
I think we thought, hang on, we're on a different level now. We're actually, I mean, a couple of years ago, when we came into the Premier League, we were we were signing a lot of players from overseas that frankly no one had ever heard of. But there's always some gems in there that have turned out really good. No one had heard of Richarlison, and then we sold him for £45 million.
Absolutely.
But when we sign a big English player, so Foster was a good signing a couple of years ago, and then Welbeck to come from Arsenal, where he could easily, but you would know better than me whether he could command a regular first team place.
Absolutely.
To think he could come to us. He's not that long out of the England squad. Could get there again if he has a good run. Hang on, we're batting with the big boys. We're not quite a big team yet. I say somewhat so, but we're never going to be a big team. But he's of that stature that you're thinking, hang on, people will suddenly take notice of it. People have heard of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the training ground's right next door as well. Watford and London.
You always feel that. I mean, the selling point must be you don't have to move.
You drive to work the same.
Sorry, exactly. You can get a lift with whoever you get a lift with. So, it's a surprise in some ways there haven't been a few more. But, I think, clearly he wanted to leave. We've obviously splashed the boat on the salary, I would imagine. But if he actually starts scoring some goals, great.
Yeah, absolutely. Just talking about Watford Football Club as a club. I mean, from an Arsenal point of view, over the years they've always been a well-respected club and a well-run club from Elton John, Graham Taylor downwards. It's been a bit spicy over the last couple of years with certain Mr. Deeney. I was at the game when Watford did beat Arsenal 2-1, which sparked the comments after the game. And in a way, you can understand what he said because Arsenal 1-0 up, they were cruising. It was right at the end of the Wenger era, and they lost 2-1 by 2 late goals, and they just didn't show much character. So, in a way, I can understand why Troy Deeney said what he said. And as a journalist, and you're a journalist as well, you want players to be honest and open and give you a bit of colourful copy. But with my Arsenal fans hat on, I was really annoyed. And I think a lot of fans are annoyed at the aspersions he cast on us, probably because they were true or they felt true at the time. What's the Watford feeling on Troy Deeney's comments?
I love the way you said cast character. I was thinking we could come on a C word there and you may well have used at the time.
We're not that time.
But I think we all found it quite. I mean, the good thing about Deeney is he does say what he thinks. And he's sometimes looking for a bit of a reaction. And he gets it. Was it the most diplomatic thing to say? No, probably not. Was he saying what everyone probably felt, that just sometimes, occasionally, us away from home don't always look up for it on a Monday night? I think there's probably some truth in it. Whether he should say that or not, on camera, is perhaps another matter. But I think if you stick a microphone under Deeney for too long, he'll say something. So I mean, he's one of those that will sometimes divide opinion because full well if he's on your team, you're going to love him. If he's not on your time, he's going to wind you up sometimes. So I think that's probably where we're coming from on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. As a fan, I completely understand where he's coming from, and you need a bit of colour, don't you? Really, in terms of those sort of spats and stuff. It's what makes it well go around.
Well, we have had a lot of foreign players as well. So sometimes some of our players, their English will vary in quality, and Dean's been the sort of central point of it all. Whereas basically that's why he's usually the one thrust in front of the camera. I think he loves being in front of the camera and saying something, which is great. But he's also the one who can articulate quite well what's going on. So I think that's why he sometimes appears more often than not.
Yeah, absolutely. And from my point of view, I think it's been a couple of years now. We do love a sort of pantomime villain, and it is quite fun on games and obviously on social media as well. I've got to say the 3-0 after I think it was the March time after the 2-1. Back in the October in that season, he had a penalty saved by Petr Cech at the Emirates, and I was doing player ratings for the Gazette at the time in the press box, and I did actually put 0 for Troy Deeney.
Did you really?
And I just put Lack Cojones basically. But yeah, no,
had you written that before and then just hoping?
Literally, the copy was there already. Yeah, just hoping. It was icing on the cake.
It was doomed to happen, really, wasn't it? I think it was the minute you say something, you're a fortune, and I think he was on that occasion.
Absolutely.
So, and he's not playing this weekend, so he's off the hook.
Yeah, he's got a bit of an injury, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's had an operation, which I think has been in the office for a while. So I mean, it has come over the international break, so we're not far away now. Probably within 3 or 4 weeks of coming back.
Right. Okay.
But the good news is we've got other people around. You know, he is. Occasionally, there's always talk: is he still there on merit? Is he there as captain? Then he'll turn in some really good games.
Yeah.
So occasionally, he can go quiet in games. So I don't think it's an absolutely catastrophic loss when we lose him. Like if one player, like if Spurs lose Kane, then they fear for it.
Yeah.
If we lose Dean, it's not the same business. But I think we do sometimes lose a little bit of, I don't know, passion and tub-thumping leadership.
Yeah.
That's probably where he comes into play most.
Yeah. Just one final more question on the team. You've got is it Andre Gray? He was Luton and he went to Burnley and you signed him for about 8 million or 18 million, sorry, yeah. How's he been doing? Is he...
Slow start, but he has got better. And I think if people were expecting to be a 25 goal a season man, he's just not that.
Yeah.
But he has got plenty of skill. He hasn't absolutely nailed his number one position in the team, which is probably what I say. And he's got competition now.
Yeah.
But he's always in the mix. He's done reasonably well without absolutely becoming a legend.
Yeah.
I think that's probably fair to say.
No, that's a fair comment. I've got to ask you. I mean, you touched on the cup final there. I think every neutral wanted Watford to do well that day. Didn't turn out like that, did it? Well, you were at the cup final. You were at Wembley, weren't you? What was your experiences that day, briefly?
It was a wonderful day. I think everyone a lot of people said to me, it must have been an absolute miracle. And at 4-0, it was. After an hour, you're thinking this isn't in the plan. But we had our moments in the first half. We missed a golden chance, and after that, you can't miss a golden chance against City. But for us, it was the first FA Cup final in 35 years. Yeah. Our first final, of any note for a long, long time. It was a big day out, and maybe that's sometimes our fault because of, we are there just, to have a great day. And of course, we all wanted to win, but we all went there thinking, realistically, we're probably not going to win.
Yeah.
So we weren't all as disappointed, perhaps, as other fans would be, and we were all there at the end. And I think that was testament, really. We all hung about to the end.
Yeah.
Sort of. Give Man City their due as well. They were a great team. They won the treble. You've got to applaud that sometimes. So fair play to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and fair play to Watford fans and yourself for doing that. Bit of nostalgia.
Yeah.
We were talking off camera a bit before we came on air, and Watford always had the sort of hex over Arsenal in the 80s. I remember a lot of games where Watford would beat Arsenal, stretching back to 82, 83 when you first got promoted. I remember a 4-2 walloping at Highbury from Watford. I'd like to say we were young then. I'm not sure how young we are now.
Yeah.
But that Watford team was a special team. I remember that as a kid.
It was. That was the first season. We finished runners up in the league, highest ever position, only behind Bob Paisley's Liverpool. Yeah. And it was a cracking team. And yet we did do the double that season over you. And it wasn't that unusual. It was just a random one. We just did have that Indian side over you. And whenever we played Arsenal, we always fancied winning them. Which was great. But we had a great team. We had Blissett, Barnes, Callahan, some great players in there. Even further back, Kenny Jackett was playing. Some players not necessarily that the world would have heard of, but Taylor got them playing fantastic attacking football.
Yeah.
And we the first season was always going to be difficult to replicate, but we always finished 11th or 12th for the next 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Which even back then in a very, very different world was pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember a 4-3 victory at Vicarage Road. It was a really hard-fought game, and it must have been September '84. That was probably 35 years ago. I remember Charlie Nicholas for Arsenal scored a couple of goals.
I think there may have even been some of his first goals for the club.
Yeah, 84 was when he signed. Yeah, his debut was against your deadly rivals Luton. You beat them 2-1.
Good
so.
to hear. Yeah.
Maybe we'll touch on Luton in a minute. But there used to be some really good games between Arsenal and Watford, but Watford always seemed to get the upper hand.
Well, exactly. Look, it's not a derby as such, but we're not far apart.
Yeah.
So I think there's we're not you're there, we're here, we know that, and that always will be thus. But it makes it in a way that it's a nicer rivalry, always a good turnout. And for some reason it does usually. we may be again tempting fate here, but it usually turns out a decent game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'd be 0-0, no
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I remember 86, 87. I was Will Frostron had to go in goal after Steve Sherwood got sent off at Arsenal. I can't remember. It was 3-1 to Arsenal, but yeah, Graham Taylor was obviously manager then.
Yeah.
Absolute legend of the game, wasn't he? He was a real Watford legend and icon too. I mean, what are your sort of memories of?
Yeah, I think he was very, very special. You know, because he did it all once. You know, it was 10 years, and yeah, the story is well reversed. You know, 4th division to the absolute top of the 1st division, and yet we had some money behind it. It's nothing like what people would think. You know, by the time we got to the 1st division, we were very much minnows. So to hold our own there in the 1st division for 6 years was fantastic, and the minute he left we went down and didn't reappear for 15 years. So that says how much he did, and the only time we then reappeared was when he came back, which I think in some ways was an even greater achievement, because we were through 2 divisions back to the Premier League where we were completely out of our depth and got smashed every week. But it was amazing we got there. And you know, he just always had that theory. I know some people will not love the way he played, and sometimes he was just pillory and sort of, we just kick the ball up front. But his very much feeling was attack, attack, attack. You will score more goals than the other team. And I think most teams would probably, aside from being real purists of the game, will say, look, we just want to see goals. And we did see goals. We saw lots of goals. You know, there were a lot of good times. I seem to remember there was a 3-1 victory by Watford in the 6th round of the FA Cup, when the FA Cup was obviously, we love it and it's massive now, but it meant a lot more then, I think, in certain terms, in terms of what it meant to silverware. But there was, I think it was about 10,000 Watford fans there that day, and I didn't go, but I've seen videos of it since, and it was the open clock end as well.
Absolutely,
And it was because the second goal, I think it was the second goal.
There was a lot of controversy.
There was, because I believe you were going forward, and there was an offside or a throw or something that went the wrong way, and then literally everybody stopped and Watford ran forward and blissed it about the 2nd or 3rd attempt, put the ball in the net. And then we did go on and get a 3rd, I think. So there was a lot of controversy, but that is, you know, that we've only got a grainy thing to look at, VAR. So as far as I'm concerned, we played to the whistle, you know. But again, another classic example of a game we probably shouldn't have won. Got us through to the semi, and unfortunately less said about that against Spurs the better.
Yeah, that was what was his name? He went in goal, didn't he? Plumley.
Plumley? Yeah, we ended up with our third. Well, he wasn't even our third choice keeper. He was working at wine bar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And he went in goal in the semi-final against Clive Allen inspired Spurs. We've taken a few poundings in semi-finals and finals, so they're not all glorious memories, but you know, it's always a day out.
Absolutely. I think that, it was obviously 87, so bittersweet for Watford, but obviously Spurs did lose Coventry in the final, so that cheered a lot of hearts back up. But I remember that day, and Watford. Well, I think Watford deserved it, to be fair. But let's talk about. You've got your memorabilia here, you've got your programmes. Elton John, he's an absolute legend in Watford circles. He seems a lovely guy as well.
He does. I mean, he genuinely loves his football. I was reading something yesterday actually. He said he was like, remember this? He actually came in when football wasn't fashionable. It was mid-70s. It was a desperate time for football. And he turned up at a very unfashionable club in the bottom, towards the bottom of the bottom division, and said we're going to go to the 1st division, the cup final, and play in Europe. And everyone thought he was barking mad. And one of the first decisions he actually made was to get a new manager in. And the 2 people I believe on the shortlist were Graham Taylor at Lincoln and Bobby Moore.
Right. Okay. Wow.
And he went for Graham Taylor at Lincoln. And he tempted Graham Taylor to come down a division. So must have been playing quite well. But obviously sold him the dream as well. And so it's kind of like, you know, Taylor is revered and loved. But everyone will also say, remember Elton John was the man who brought him here.
They were almost a double act at times, weren't they?
They were, and he is still famously in contact with the club, every week. So yes, he's not been involved with day to day for a time, but I think he still has a box or something like that. So there's still input. He's done 2 or 3 concerts to fundraise. He's got his other causes now, and makes no pretence of that. But he still turns up probably 2 or 3 times a season. It wouldn't surprise me if he's there on Sunday. Who knows? He still does love the club. He's got a stand named after him. So we were lucky. He was from Pinner. He could have gone in any direction.
North West London.
So we were lucky there.
I think that's what all football fans want. Just a knowledgeable, passionate supporter, whether they're chairman, whether they're manager, whether they're another fan, basically. And Elton John certainly proved his loyalty, hasn't he?
It's the dream, it's the benefactor. You know, you want your local benefactor. We don't have that anymore. Arsenal don't have it anymore. If you go back a few years, that's what we had.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky, you get a good one.
Yeah.
Who will put money in, doesn't expect it back, he was that one. You know, other clubs who we know at the moment have been less fortunate in who's picked up the reins.
Yeah, absolutely. Just in terms of the ground itself as well, I remember going there in the 80s watching Arsenal, obviously, and you used to have to walk around an allotment, and the away end had the roof, and it had really shallow terracing, and the home end was uncovered. I always thought that was a bit, well, just Watford-esque, really.
Well, it was classic, really. I think they had swapped ends a couple of times, and it ended up in the Vicarage Road end, which was completely open. And I mean, you don't even want to know what the facilities were. They were primitive, to say the least. But you know, Taylor did go out in sympathy, because basically it was also, you may see, if you see old things, we actually had the benches by the side of the pitch, and they were open as well. And Taylor always said, we won't move into dugouts until you put a roof on that end.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. As it was about 96 before we finally got a stand at that end. You know, since that time, the home fans have now moved into what was the Rookery end.
Yeah.
The first thing we did was make sure we didn't have to walk around those allotments.
So they're still there, obviously.
The allotments are still there. I've got a feeling they're slowly going.
Right.
They are still there, but yes, we instantly put in a path that meant we didn't have to do that. We made everyone else do.
Well, so when I went back to Watford after a gap of God knows how many years, I couldn't believe it. I mean, they're always a professional club, but they've exploded, haven't they? And what are your thoughts for this season, really, in terms of, you can stay up, can't you?
We can stay up. We've got the squad to stay up.
Yeah.
That squad is as good as anything to be in the mid-table. You know, I think for a few people saying, "Oh, we're in there with Leicester, Everton, West Ham for that sort of golden seventh ticket." I mean, you look at those squads, you look at their money, and we can't compete with their money.
Yeah.
So we've got to do well. We've probably already made that very difficult for ourselves. So at the moment, I think we'd all take 16th, 17th. Even that's not bad when you look at, you know, the actual level of side you've got in the division. Yeah, admittedly you've got Sheffield United. I think will make a good fight of it, but they will be up against it financially. You know, but other clubs, there's not many clubs with less money than us. Probably Burnley, maybe Norwich at the moment, but I think if they hang about, they'll build.
Yeah.
I don't think too many others, you know, are actually scratching around like that. So I think actually, if we can get to 15th, 16th, 17th, we'll be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We'll touch on what you're going to do in a minute, what you're doing now in a minute.
Sure.
But give us a score prediction. I hate being asked that question, so sorry about that, but I've got to ask you, Jim. What do you reckon on Sunday then?
2-1 Watford.
2-1 Watford, fair play. I wouldn't expect anything otherwise. So.
I'm always mocked because whenever I'm asked for a prediction, I always go for us to win. Even if we're a Man City away, which we are the 4-0 I will go for a Watford win.
5-0 to Watford.
Exactly, it just gets a bit embarrassing. You know, I'm going to go for that.
Oh no, fair play, fair play. Yeah, so what you're doing now, I mean, I'm absolutely loving what you're doing now. Talk us through it. You're obviously editor of Football Weekends magazine, I should say.
Sure, indeed. Well, basically, it is what it says on the tin. A lot of people love going on Football Weekends. I thought, you know, there's nothing out there in the market covering that kind of thing, which is very much a fan base. It's not necessarily about the football, it's about the experiences of going to matches, which I think an awful lot of people will understand. So it's not about the players, it's not about the management or not really about the clubs. It's about the stadiums, it's about the places you visit, where you go, what it's like. And it really does cover everything from Champions League to non-league.
Yeah.
You know, in one edition you can have everything from Real Madrid to, you know, I'm trying to think of a non-league team. You know, I think who have we covered recently? I mean, we covered Whitley Bay soon. So you can go everything from that to that, and you know, around Europe as well, because a lot of people are now got the hang of these European breaks. Sometimes it's constant that when you go to a European city, you've suddenly got to go to watch the theatre or the ballet, which you wouldn't do in a million years when you were at home. Yeah. But actually, what people do enjoy doing is football, and I think what is magical about it is that the concept is exactly the same. The rules are the same, so you know that much. But every country has its own little ways of doing things and its own little differences, and that's what hopefully we try and get across to in the magazine. And we're up to 49 issues, so. You know, my initial worries about whether it would be viable or whether I've just thrown my life savings at a disaster. Well, so far so good.
Absolutely, and you can buy it. I always see it at WH Smith's, and it's everywhere really. And where else can you get it?
Yeah, WH Smith's, Martin McCall news agents. Not everyone, but most of the big stations, airports, high streets. Also sold online, footballweekends.co.uk. But we're very much a print publication. quite old school in that respect. But there's still a big demand for it. You know, people want a mag to flick through on the plane or, you know, wherever. So long may that continue.
Absolutely. As someone who loves print like yourself, I've more power to yourself. So good luck to you. I've got to ask as well. I'm on 80 grounds in England. What's your favourite English ground, whether it be non-league or professional?
That's a tough one at the minute. Obviously, I have to exclude Watford.
Yes.
Because that's always a tricky one. I mean, grounds I've really liked. I mean, you like some of them for different reasons. Really like the John Smith's Huddersfield.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's different, and the Amex at Brighton.
Yeah.
They've just got that bit of something which a lot of grounds built around 15 years ago don't.
Yeah.
15 to 20 years ago don't. So I'll certainly say those. The Emirates is a great stadium. I'm not just saying that, it's a great stadium. It's one of two great stadiums in North London. I won't mention the other one.
Yeah, let's not do that.
So there's like, but I suppose the one I do really like, and you've only got half a season to get there, is Brentford.
Brentford, yeah. And that's not just because there's a pub on every corner as well.
No, exactly. But it's a wonderful old ground.
Yeah,
it's very rickety. It's a beautiful one. But I'm very interested to see the one they're building not half a mile away.
Yeah.
Right in between 3 railway lines.
Yeah, and then River Thames, basically.
And it looks, you know, it looks better than your average bowl, shall we say. So while they're going to do well to replicate it, and if they could build a pub on each corner of the new stadium, that's got to be it. But even if they don't, I think it will be, you know, worth going to. But I'd certainly say to anyone who hasn't been to Brentford, get there.
Yeah, fair play. In terms of you, I've probably done 100 games covering Arsenal, watching Arsenal as a fan, England as well, abroad. What's your favourite European ground then? Is there ever a football weekend?
I love Cologne.
Okay,
Fantastic ground, Cologne. It's very
a couple of years ago.
quite modern, but it's got a very British feel about it as well. So that's a very special one. German ones are very good.
You were going to say St. Pauli.
I was going to say St. Pauli as well. So again, a great one with great atmosphere and a great attitude about it. Union Berlin is another one where you cannot get a ticket for this season in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, they were promoted, didn't they? Yeah.
So they're just sold out. So Germany's always a good one. But if people can't get to Germany or whatever, I always recommend somewhere like Belgium, which isn't necessarily on people's radars, but there's usually a great atmosphere at places like Anderlecht, Bruges, that you don't necessarily expect, and they've got some great old stadiums. It's not very expensive. You can usually get tickets. So if you're thinking of just dipping your foot into foreign football, places like Belgium or Germany are a very good start.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, Arsenal got Stand Liège. I went there a few years ago when Arsenal played, before it was done up for Euro 2000, so I'm not sure what the ground's like now. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Belgium's a great place to have a weekend, let alone a football match thrown in as well. So
it's so easy to get to. If you do it on the Eurostar, it's a great break. You could do a night, you could do 2 or 3 nights. It's not that expensive. So that's why I always. And the thing is, as well, in Belgium, if you wanted to do a weekend of football, you park yourself in Brussels and you just wait for the fixtures to come out because you're never far from anywhere else there. So you know, that's definitely one to do. And Poland's been a very interesting place, perhaps more for people who've done a bit more travelling.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I did England or Poland England in 2004, and that was in Katowice. That was quite an interesting trip. But what would your recommendations be for Poland?
Yeah, I mean, Legia Warsaw is an amazing stadium.
Their fans are something else as well.
Their fans are something else. It is genuinely tingling down the back of your neck at a Legia Warsaw game. But they're not alone. Yet it can feel quite intimidating. Yeah. And again, if you don't know Polish and you go up there and it's... Some of the grounds are really quite modern. Some of them are not modern. They're very much the communist bowls. Yeah. So there's a good atmosphere. But it's very. If you can actually work it out to get in, they're very cheap and they're a lot of fun. And it's a completely different experience.
Absolutely.
And if you're used to fairly sanitised football in the UK, that is the complete opposite.
Yeah, and I know the Europa League finals in is it Gdansk?
It's in Gdansk.
Yeah, so, you haven't covered that yet at all.
I've yet to go to Gdansk.
Okay, yeah.
So you know, every chance, you know, I was hoping we were going to get there in the Europa League when we beat Man City to qualify for group stages, but sadly that did not come to pass.
Jim, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolute pleasure.
Just tell us again. So when's the next? I know you've just finished deadline as
well.
well.
Finished it 15 minutes before you turned up. Indeed. So the next match should be hitting the streets in about a fortnight's time. So look out for it. Issue 49, all about Valencia.
Valencia.
So there you go, Valencia.
Yeah, absolutely.
So very nice city. So yeah, enjoy it.
Brilliant. Thanks for your time. I made the best team win on Sunday.
Pleasure.
Cheers, Jim.
Cheers.